Hey everyone, I'm Tyler from Max Ordinate. So today we're going to talk about high angle shooting. There's a specific formula and some information that you need so that you can be successful when engaging targets from an elevated position. Okay? The formula is fairly simple, and you only need a little bit of information to make this work. Formula is line of sight times your cosine equals your flat line distance. So what are we trying to achieve with this? Well, it's very simple. Okay? First off, our line of sight is a direct line through the scope to the target. Okay? It's one straight line. Now the problem is gravity affects the projectile on a straight pull down. So if you go back to that middle school math class, okay, we have to do a little bit of trigonometry here. We're going to come straight down and over. This area right here, this would be our flat line distance. Okay, that is the distance that gravity is affecting our projectile. So we have to figure out this. What is x? Alright, so using this formula will allow us to basically figure out what the flat line distance is and what we're going to dope our rifles for. So let's say we're shooting at 800 yards. And 800 yards and we have a 30-degree angle. Well, you're going to need to know what the cosine is for 30 degrees. Now, here's a chart. We also have MOA cards that we hand out at our classes that give you the cosines on them. So for 30 degrees, it's a cosine of 0.87, or roughly minus 13%. So what we'll do is we'll take 800 and we'll multiply by 0.87. That's going to give us our flat line distance. And that distance is going to be 696 yards. This is what we are setting our elevation for. Now don't forget about your 800 yard shot, because we're still got to remember that yardage when we're making our wind calls. Alright? The bullet is still traveling 800 yards, but it's only being affected by gravity for 696. So here's 800, but this is 696. So the elevation for 800 yards is 7.5 mils. Now if we look at the dope card here, for 696 we have an elevation of 5.9. So we would dial 5.9 on our scopes versus 7.5. Right? That's a pretty big difference right there. You're looking at 16 or 1.6 mils. All right, and if you were to convert that to MOA, you're looking at 5 minutes of angle. Okay, approximately 5 minutes at 800 yards. That's 40 inches. So you would overshoot your target by 40 inches. All right, which is the reason we have to do this calculation. There's several instruments that you can use to obtain a cosine or a degree. You can use an old school protractor with a string and a weight hanging from the center. You can use your phone, right? The compass feature. If you slide it to the left, it gives you an angle. Some of the apps, ballistic arc, we use that app a lot. It has an angle built into it. Some of your other ballistic apps also incorporate angles or some type of angle measurement tool. You can buy a cosine indicator which attaches directly to your rifle from U.S. Tactical Supply, Horace, Badger Ordnance. So there's many different areas or tools you can get to achieve a cosine reading. You can also Google it. You can find angle cosines on Google and apply those in the same manner. Now, one of the mistakes that people do often make, and I've heard several reasons why, is instead of using the range to calculate flat line distance, they will use their elevation setting. So let's try that. 7.5 mils is our elevation for 800 yards. Now we do the same formula times 0.87. Now it gives us an elevation correction of 6.5. Now if you'll notice that 6.5 does not line up with what our flat line distance would be. All right, it's still off by 0.6 mils. 0.6 mils at 800 equals 16 inches. You're still going to overshoot your target by 16 inches. Now I'm referencing a 308. 175 grain hollow point boat tail. Okay, but that's a pretty big deal. So you want to stay away from using the dope. All right. Do not use your elevation settings to calculate high angles. Stick to the range, and the end result, your flatline distance, you're going to dope your gun for that. Okay. If there's any questions, all right, I'm sure that there is. You can find numerous sources via the internet. Okay. I know there's places such as Sniper's Hide. You can find information. Precision Rifle Shooter has a good blog going. So there's information out there, but this is going to get you started. Just remember your line of sight times your cosine gives you your flat line distance. And that is what you're going to set your rifle to. I hope this helps everybody. We'll see you at the range.